Well, good afternoon, everybody, and a very warm welcome to Donington Park for what will be the final two championship rounds of the 2021 Radical SR1 Cup Championship. We are bathed in sunshine in the East Midlands, ideal racing conditions. Whilst this is the first of two races we'll see today for the Radical SR1 Cup, mathematically we could be crowning a champion at the end of this race. We saw some fantastic qualifying this morning, and our main championship protagonist, James Lay, will start this race from pole position. You can see the heat haze there, considering that occasionally it feels slightly autumnal, or it did earlier on this week, but yeah, almost back to being like summer here in the East Midlands, and some great racing that we've got. This is the final two races of the season for this championship, which started off on the 24th of April at Snetterton on the 300 circuit there. We visited Brands Hatch and the Grand Prix circuit in the early part of May. Then there was the invitational race, the non-championship race that took place at Spa-Francorchamps before we then headed back to the UK. We went back to Snetterton on the 300 circuit. We went to Silverstone in August on the Grand Prix circuit there, where the SR1s were on the same grid as the Radical Challenge Championship. And well, we're here at Donington Park, and you can see there's a few little clouds in the sky, but you can see just how warm it looks out there. And the spectators are looking forward to what will be a couple of fantastic races for the Radical SR1 Cup. So those cars will be shortly heading onto the grid for what for them is scheduled to be a 20-minute race. There are already a couple of championship points that have been scooped up, because there are additional championship points for pole position in the qualifying session that takes place, and that qualifying session sets the grid for this race. The second fastest times that the drivers set in the qualification session also sets the grid for race number 2, and there is one championship point for pole position in each one of those races. So James Lay, who will start from pole position, has scooped up one additional championship point for qualifying on pole in this race. He will also scoop up the same championship point because he is on the second fastest times from qualifying, also the quickest driver, so he will start from pole position. We already know that in both of the championship races. So those are the cars. They are in the assembly area at the moment, just waiting to head out onto circuit. If you're not familiar with the Radical SR1 Cup, then it's a single brand race series. All cars are identical in reality. They all run in the same class. There are sub-classes of them, but that's really down to whether you are a rookie in the championship or whether you're of a certain age. You're eligible for things like the Fangio Trophy. But in terms of technical specification, all of the cars are absolutely identical, all powered by the Radical Suzuki 1340cc Generation 2 motors. They make their way out onto the track, ready for lining up on the grid, and then they will also then shortly be heading off onto a formation wrap. They all run a treaded tyre as well. They are allowed a certain number of tyres throughout the course of the championship season, but they have been allowed an additional 4 tyres because of tyre wear generally over the course of this season. Let's guide you then through the grid for this one as they start to line up there, and the way that the grid will line up. As we see the car coming onto pole position, it will be James Lay that starts on pole position. He is the championship leader, and alongside should be Darren De Leon that sits alongside, but it's showing that Will Hunt is sitting alongside there on the grid that's coming up on the graphic. So let's just have a quick look and double check the data with regards to the way that they line up, and it is James Lay, and it should be Darren De Leon that's there on the outside of the front row of the grid at the wheel of the number 2 car. The second row of the grid is number 7, which is Fraser McFadden, and alongside Fraser will be the number 21 car, which will be Will Hunt, and row 3 of the grid will be number 18, Mark Williams, alongside 27, Mackenzie Walker. Row 4 of the grid is number 26, Nick Sapolsky, and number 53, which is Ben Casely. Row 5 will see 22, Andy Lowe, line up alongside number 4, which is Ben Stone, with row 6 being James Hadley. He drives the number 40 car, and alongside is number 55, which is James Ockenden. And the 7th and final row of the grid, number 3, Paul Atherton lines up alongside number 17, which is Gavin McAlpine. So off they head onto their final formation lap. In terms of the championship, as we mentioned, the car that starts from pole position, that white car with the Dayglow green flashes to it, James Lay, he leads the championship. But prior to the qualifying session, he led by just one single championship point. He was on 351 points coming into this weekend, compared to Will Hunt, who was on 350. Well, James starts from pole position. Will Hunt starts from the outside of the second row of the grid. His car is largely white and blue, not that car there, that's the number 22 car of Andy Lowe, but Will's is a similar kind of colour to it. But of course, James Lay did pick up those 2 additional championship points. Now, there are 40 points for a race win. There is also an extra point for the fastest lap. So should James Lay win this race, and for instance, Will Hunt non-finish, if James Lay wins it and sets the fastest lap, and Will Hunt were to non-finish, the championship would be decided, but it really needs a retirement for Will Hunt to fully stitch up the championship in this race for James Lay. And for Will Hunt, he's been around this championship for a good number of years now. He finished 3rd last year in the championship. He was 4th in 2019, he finished 3rd in 2018, so he'll be looking to try and stay right at the sharp end of it. And so far, he is the driver that has won more races than anybody else. James Lay might be leading the championship and will start from pole. He's had 3 wins so far this season. He's had 3 seconds. He's had a couple of thirds and a 4th. Those are every race that he has finished in. Whereas for Will Hunt, when you drop no rounds in this championship, that's what has been his undoing very slightly at the moment, because whilst he has had 5 race wins at the wheel of his number 21 car, he's had 3 second places. He very sadly had a non-finish in the first of the 3 races that we had at Silverstone last time out, so that is why he is playing catch-up to a degree, and with qualifying not really having gone his way, he's got a bit of work to do over the course of this 20-minute race that is coming up. So there is the white and blue car just disappearing out of shot, which is Will Hunt's car. You can see them all weaving from side to side to try and build the temperature into the control Hankook tyres that they all run nowadays. And with the grid of cars making their way around onto the Grand Prix circuit, the lights are out on the safety car. Should be usually a standing start for these cars, but with the safety car bringing them round, it's looking as though it's going to be potentially a rolling start for them. So around the Melbourne hairpin they will go, the full Grand Prix circuit, just under 2.5 miles, 2.4873 miles. I think it is, to be absolutely precise, so as good as 2.5 miles. And we'll wait and see as to whether it's going to be a rolling start for these. Usually it's been standing starts over the years for the SR1s, but it certainly looks as though we're going for a rolling start this time through for the 10th round of the 2021 Radical SR1 Cup Championship. They're just making their way around through Goddard's now onto the start-finish line, and as they head onto the start-finish line, we will get our first race of the day underway. Red lights on, red lights off. It looks as though it's not a bad start from James Lay from pole position. Going wheel to wheel with him is, though, Darren de Leon, that sits there in second place, but squeezing his way through. Fraser McFadden trying to squeeze his way through into second place, and he makes it through, but then runs wide on the exit of the corner, gets a little bit sideways, and I think Darren de Leon will already retake the second place that he lost on the run towards Redgate Corner, and that has already released James Lay, not just into the lead, but he's got a little bit of daylight between himself. Mark Williams dives up the inside of Fraser McFadden to grasp 3rd place as they head down in towards the old hairpin. And by the look of things, the man from Dalkeith is going to hang on to it as well. The Scottish Saltire on the rear wing of his car. He is in 3rd position. Fraser McFadden on cold tyres. You can see the car moving around, and bouncing over the curbs goes Andy Lowe as he looks to try and hang on to 6th position. Working their way through McLean's corner. He has lost out, however, as Mackenzie Walker goes through, and then the door is open for a further 2 cars to squeeze their way through, and that looked as though James Hadley also took the opportunity to go through there. Side by side for 3rd. Fraser McFadden has the inside line heading in towards the chicane and will make it through into 3rd place. Mark Williams back down into 4th position. So down in towards the braking area for the Melbourne loop. At the end of lap number 1, they will work their way. There is Fraser McFadden looking to try and build momentum and try and catch the pair ahead. Now, Mark Williams has has lost out enormously there. His car was in 4th place, wasn't it, going into towards the chicane? I thought I saw him make a slight mistake going into the chicane, but he's now dropped down towards the bottom of the top 10 by the look of things. Nick Sapolsky is in 4th place now, but coming under enormous pressure. He's got the black and red car of Mackenzie Walker right behind him, and then the number 21 of Will Hunt, who is going to conclude the first lap of the race. Bearing in mind the number 21 car of Will Hunt lies 2nd in the championship standings. He is going to be in 6th place at the end of the first lap, and his main championship rival is leading the race. So down through Hollywood and the Craner curves, Nick Sapolsky at the wheel of the number 26 car, the man from Oldley Edge, sticking his elbows out. Mackenzie Walker, a winner last time out at Silverstone, looking to try and thread his way through into what would be 4th position. Nothing doing at the moment though, and all of the time whilst they're squabbling for 4th, for 5th, and with Will Hunt there for 6th place. And even Andy Lowe in 7th place, who's starting to close up. It's allowing the leading trio just to break away a little bit. In the subcategories, the Rookie Cup is being led by the car in 2nd place at the moment, Darren de Leon, in his first season of racing, and the Fangio Trophy for drivers of a certain age, shall we say, has been led by the number 22 car of Andy Lowe at this stage. Side by side, Nick Sapolsky protecting that all-important inside line as they head in towards the Fogarty S's. And I think should hang on to 4th for the moment. Does he get the drive out of the corner? Yes, he does. Mackenzie Walker in the black car with its red flashes cannot as yet squeeze his way through. Mackenzie Walker, the son of Sean Walker, former British touring car racer. Somebody running very wide there down in towards the old hairpin and tumbling down through the order. I think that might have been Ben Casely possibly, or Paul Atherton. Paul Atherton was running in last place, but I think it might be Ben Casely possibly, who was inside the top 10. Now look at the battle in the background for 4th position. Mackenzie Walker's got the run. There's a spin, I'm afraid to say, and that is Ben Stone that's facing the wrong way at Goddard's corner. Should be able to fire the car back into life, but that is going to drop him into dead last, I'm afraid. So down through the Craner curves, this is our race leader, and of course remember the championship leader, James Lay, leading the way at the moment. If James Lay were to win this race, he would end up on 393 championship points. Will Hunt is currently in 6th position. He would be on 372 championship points. So that would be 21 points between the pair of them. And that would not be sufficient for James Lay to stitch up the championship in this race. It would go down to the final race of the season, which of course takes place later on today here at Donington Park. And off, I'm afraid, has gone Darren de Leon. I did wonder where he'd gone, but yeah, Darren de Leon is off. The car is in the gravel, and I'm afraid to say that's not in the safest of places, and also off and in the gravel track. So, safety car lights, I think, should be being extinguished very shortly. The last bit of weaving being done from side to side for James Lay to try and build the temperature into those tyres. Lights are indeed out on the safety car, so we're going to be good to get going with there or thereabouts 10 minutes of racing. Watch out for that number 21 car, Will Hunt, 2nd in the championship, 5th in the race, needs to make a bit of progress here to try and keep right on the coattails in terms of the championship scoring of James Lay, because the gap was just 1 point at the beginning of qualifying. It was 3 points coming into this race, but it will be 19 points if they stay where they are at the moment. So we get the race back underway now. No overtaking until they reach the start-finish line. Green flag waves. We go back to racing. Somebody dives in the background for the pit lane, but it's a good restart from James Lay. And Will Hunt is already looking to try and attack Nick Sapolsky. Up the inside he goes at Redgate corner. Yep, squeezes his way through. Up to 4th goes Will Hunt, doesn't run wide on the exit of it, so that now would put him on 377 points at the end of this race compared to the 393 for James Lay, so minimising the damage after what for him was a poor qualifying really, only 4th quickest, and then dropping to 5th and almost 6th at some stages of this race, but he's now back to where he started when the red lights first went out. Will Hunt, what can he do about trying to close on the cars ahead is the big question. This is Andy Lowe in 6th place. He's got the Scotsman Mark Williams right behind him. Mark qualified in 5th position.
was running up inside the top three. All the two side by side, they always barge off the side of each other, but good driving by both, just giving each other enough room there as they carve their way through Coppice Corner. I think at the last moment Andy Lowe saw that the gap was certainly opened up by Mark Williams, and if he turned in, the inevitable was going to happen. So both drivers giving each other just about enough room as they head through the Fogarty S's and onto the Grand Prix loop now with already just 8.5 minutes remaining. James Lay leads, Fraser McFadden in second place, Mackenzie Walker in third, Will Hunt fourth, Nick Sapolsky in fifth place, Mark Williams in sixth, and then diving through to grab seventh place by the look of things. That was a good dive through there up the inside to gain the position was Gavin McAlpine. Gavin McAlpine had an awful qualifying session. He qualified at the very tail end of the field in 14th position and will come through and over the start-finish line this time through, I think inside the top 10 potentially. He was 8th last time through, and I think, is he going to improve his position? No, still remains 8th actually. Took the place going in towards the old hairpin, in towards the Melbourne hairpin, but lost it on the way out. So 7 3/4 minutes remaining. For the 7th time of asking, James Lay carves his way through the old hairpin. Fraser McFadden far enough behind him so as to not to worry the championship leader. Fraser McFadden also with a very small amount of damage to the tail end of his car. You see the bodywork on the left rear just flapping around a little bit. He will be conscious to the fact that Mackenzie Walker is not too far away as they head up into the blind entry double apex right-hander at Coppice Corner. You grab the first apex, you don't worry about the second one, let the car drift out all the way down towards the curbs on the exit of Coppice Corner, and then move over to the right-hand side of the circuit, dive onto the brakes and in towards the left and the right flicks at the Fogarty chicane. Now the fastest lap of the race still going the way of Darren de Leon at the moment, so he is destined to pick up the additional championship point for that. But on this lap, Mackenzie Walker has gone purple through the middle sector. Will Hunt has gone purple through the first sector. So there's a couple of cars out there on quick laps this time through. Now Gavin McAlpine, that green and yellow car, was making progress. I think he's lost 2 places on this lap. So I think McAlpine from 8th might be back down to 10th at the end of the lap potentially. Over the start-finish line come the leading 4 cars. Order still remains the same. James Lay, Fraser McFadden, Mackenzie Walker, Will Hunt. We have got a new fastest lap of the race, and that goes the way of the championship leader as Mark Williams dives up the inside of Nick Sapolsky going in towards Redgate Corner, but brakes too late. Sapolsky straight away wrestles his way straight back past. So the new fastest lap, 1 minute 36.029 for this car here that leads the race and leads the championship. So at the moment, it's potentially maximum points with having qualified on pole for race 1 and in second fastest times qualified on pole already for race 2, has now picked up the fastest lap of the race and is leading. So 393 championship points potentially it would be at the end of this race for James Lay, and for Will Hunt it would be 377. So the championship still at the moment will go down to the final race of the season, which takes place later on this afternoon. Now Will Hunt is in that white car with the blue flashes that sits there in 4th place. Through the Fogarty S's. They're on lap number 8 at the moment. We've got 5 minutes still remaining. And Will Hunt is in prime position now to try something on Mackenzie Walker for 3rd place. See whether he might be able to do it. 27 points for 4th position. If he can work his way through to 3rd, and running wide on the grass won't help, that would be an extra 3 championship points for Will Hunt. But small mistake there, coming out of the Melbourne hairpin. Will have picked up a little bit of grass onto the tyres of Will Hunt, but he's pushing hard at this stage. He'll sit in the slipstream of Mackenzie Walker, too far away this time as they head up towards Redgate Corner. So he'll have to be content with 4th position still for the moment. This is a good little fight for the final podium spot. And Mackenzie Walker would desperately like to try and hang on to the podium spot. He's not had huge amounts of podiums so far this season. He's had a torrid year really, with a non-finish at Snetterton at round 1 of the championship. Round 3, 4 and 5 of the championship were all non-finishes at Brands Hatch. He had another non-finish at Silverstone, so it's been a tough season for Mackenzie Walker. He's had a 1st, a 2nd, a 3rd and a 4th, and they're his only point-scoring races so far, so another podium would be ideal for him. Would not be ideal for the 21 though, with Will Hunt that sits behind still. Through Coppice Corner, in towards the straight that brings them down in towards the S's. So as they head down now towards the S's, is the gap closing between the pair of them on this lap? It looks as though, yeah, Will Hunt was about half a second quicker through the first sector. They've matched each other for pace, I think, through the second sector. No, they've matched each other for pace absolutely through both sectors, looking at it. Identical lap times through the middle sector of the lap, but Will Hunt has the inside line on the brakes, heading in towards the Melbourne hairpin and squeezes his way through into the podium places. So another 3 championship points picked up for Will Hunt. Those could all prove important come the totting up at the end of the day. Now Mackenzie Walker takes a wider sweep in towards Goddard's to try and get a bit more momentum on the exit, but the job is done, I'm afraid. Will Hunt, 5 times a race winner so far this season, is through. Walker will close up in the slipstream. You can see the top 4 are a long way ahead of the 5th place car, which is Mark Williams in the background, and poor old Gavin McAlpine's had more problems. There's a spin for Gavin McAlpine. Hopefully he'll get the car fired up, but he had dropped from 9th to 10th on the previous lap, and I think will now tumble down towards the very tail end of the field. Now Will Hunt, having gained 3rd place, the number 21 car, is already, you can see, has gapped now Mackenzie Walker. What can he do in the remaining 2 3/4 minutes about Fraser McFadden? Well, not a great deal, but he's a 10th quicker in the first third of the lap, and you can see the gap is closing. Andy Lowe, this is the number 22 car down in 7th position. He's being kept busy by the larger grey car of Ben Stone that sits behind. Ben Stone is a rookie in the championship and is actually leading the rookie standings at the moment in terms of this race and in terms of the championship as well, Ben. So it's not been a bad rookie season for Ben Stone as he's pushing hard to try and see what he might be able to do. Ben was actually lying 4th overall in the championship standings coming into this weekend, was Ben Stone. His best overall finish so far this season has been 5th places. It's 3 of those that he's had throughout the course of this season, but he's down in 8th place in this race at the moment. But as I say, rookie season, he's leading the rookie championship and he's having a good little fight really in the background. So there goes James Lay. You can see he really has opened up the gap between himself and Fraser McFadden, and has set another new fastest lap of the race, that time through James Lay. 1 minute 35.804 from James. Will Hunt was 0.2 of a second quicker than Fraser McFadden, so the gap 2nd to 3rd is beginning to close up, and Fraser McFadden is going to have to stick his elbows out to a degree if he wants to see whether he can hang on to 2nd place. The good thing is for him is that we've only got 75 seconds of the race left, and I think Will Hunt has still got 5 or 6 car lengths to close up just to catch, let alone get past. So we should be on to what will be the last lap of the race this time through. Mackenzie Walker, I think now having settled for 4th position. Driver who first cut his teeth in the Lotus Cup UK, moved over to Radical Racing a couple of seasons ago. And as I say, last time out took his only win of the 2021 championship season. And I think that was his first win in the Radical SR1 Cup. He's been around it for a season or so, but I don't think he claimed a win last year. He had a couple of seconds at Brands Hatch last year, did Mackenzie Walker. And he was in the 2019 championship season, I think 4th was the best that he finished. So he'll have to settle for a place just off the podium this time through. But with 22 seconds to go, is James Lay going to get over the start-finish line and chalk another lap in? I think he is, you know. I think we're going to squeeze 1 further lap out of this race. So 15 seconds to go as he comes into the final corner. Is he going to get over the start-finish line before the checkered flag? I would imagine he will, which for Will Hunt gives him 1 further lap to try and close the gap. Yet 5 seconds to go as James Lay comes over the start-finish line. So there's another lap to go. Now, Fraser McFadden will see the number 21 car looming ever larger in his mirrors as they head through Redgate Corner. That time through, the gap between the pair of them came down by half a second. It was a 1 minute 36.5 from the black and green car of Fraser McFadden. It was a 1 minute 36.0 from Will Hunt in his pursuit to try and grab what would be an extra 5 championship points. New fastest lap of the race for James Lay that time through, as you can see, 1 minute 35.725 from him. So it looks as though James Lay is going to finish this race with 393 championship points, but for Will Hunt, at the moment it's 380. It could be 385 if he can unlock the door to 2nd place, and Fraser McFadden is not going to make it easy. But equally as much, if Will Hunt tries it and it doesn't work, that could mean losing championship points, because he could drop himself down through the order if the two of them have a tangle. Now he's sitting in the slipstream. There's only a couple of corners to go. He jinks to the right-hand side. That's the outside lane for the S's. And Will Hunt, I think, made a mistake there going in towards the S's on the outside. That might slow his exit and could drop him back into the clutches of Mackenzie Walker. None of this will worry James Lay, the championship leader, because he is on course for maximum points. And Will Hunt did make it stick, but Fraser McFadden is back at the inside. He's then pushed wide, which might allow Mackenzie Walker to go through. And it is side by side, 3 abreast, heading up in towards Goddard. How's this going to work its way through? Will Hunt has the inside line. It is Fraser McFadden who is the meat in the sandwich. There's lock brakes and there is a spin for Will Hunt. That is the last thing he needed. It's going to be Fraser McFadden that comes through in second place. Mackenzie Walker third. Will Hunt will recover to finish in 4th position. He was looking to try and gain an extra 5 championship points. He ended up losing 3 championship points. So James Lay will be, if I've got the maths right, on 393 championship points heading into the final race of the season. Will Hunt will be on 377 championship points heading into the final race of the season. So mathematically, the championship stays alive for the last race of the season, but it is going to be very tight indeed. And for James Lay, that now means that he has won 5 races over the course of the 2021 championship season. He will be absolutely delighted with the way that things have panned out. It means he will have a 16-point championship lead heading into the final race of the season, with a maximum of 41 points available, 40 for the win. 1 extra point, remember, for the fastest lap as well to come in race number 2 of the weekend. But for James Lay, he will be really, really pleased that he has got the day off to the perfect start at the moment. Pole position for both races with the extra championship point each one of those will carry. Fastest lap in that race as well, which carries an additional championship point, and he has claimed the win, his 4th of the championship season, compared to Will Hunt, his main championship rival, who might have had an extra win compared to him, but he is going to be 16 points ahead going into the final championship round. And well, for James Lay, could he be the man that picks up the championship crown following in the footsteps of the 2020 championship season, James Pinkerton, which also concluded its championship season here at Donington Park last year as well. We only saw 1 race, sadly, at Donington Park last year. The other 2 that were scheduled were abandoned due to awful weather conditions, whereas for this season we have got probably ideal conditions, a very light breeze, nice warm ambient temperatures as well. So we're going to see some quick laps coming in over the course of what will be today's racing here at Donington Park. We will see the Radical SR1 Cups back out onto circuit for their final race of the 2021 championship season. Scheduled start time for it is 15:50, so 10 to 4 this afternoon is the scheduled start time. But of course, with all of the other support races going on here at Donington Park and other championships that are here, then of course that is subject to change. It may possibly come forward if we run ahead of time, but of course it could go backwards if there are some incidents out on circuit that require our fantastic Donington Park marshals to sort out. So do keep an eye on social media, and we will go live as soon as we can. So confirmation then of the results. James Lay claims the win with Fraser McFadden in 2nd position, and Mackenzie Walker came through in the end to steal 3rd place away from Will Hunt, who at the final corner had a spin and dropped to 4th. Mark Williams finished in 5th place and was the winner of the Fangio Trophy. In 6th place it was Nick Sapolsky. 7th place went the way of our rookie winner, which was James Hadley, who was the first rookie home. 9th place in the end was the car of Ben Stoner. Completing the top 10 in the end was the number 17 car of Gavin McAlpine. Then just outside of the top 10, Ben Casely finished in 11th place. 12th place went the way of the number 3 car of Paul Atherton. And then we had retirements, I'm afraid, for both Darren de Leon, and there was a retirement also for James Ockenden. But that is it for the Radical SR1 Cup Championship here at Donington Park. Remember, we'll be back later on today for the final race of the 2021 season. We'll also be crowning our champion. Until later on today, it's goodbye.